history is full of cold, hard facts. Dates are written. Documents are archived. Artifacts are preserved. But woven between those verifiable truths are stories that refuse to behave. Events that no textbook can fully explain. Cases that defy logic, challenge science, and laugh in the face of consensus. These are not fairy tales or fictional accounts. These are real events, recorded, witnessed, sometimes even filmed, that remain shrouded in mystery to this day. You've probably heard the phrase, "Truth is stranger than fiction." But what happens when truth is so strange, it can't even be understood? Across centuries and civilizations, humanity has encountered things that simply shouldn't have happened. People who disappeared without a trace. Civilizations that vanished overnight. Technology that existed thousands of years before it should have. Mass phenomena no one can explain. Bizarre signals from the stars. Apparitions, plagues, artifacts, prophecies. The kind of historical events that scholars debate, skeptics dismiss, and yet, no one can definitively solve. In this video, we're diving into 50 of the most bizarre, creepy, and unexplained events in human history. These are the mysteries that make historians uneasy. The unexplained historical events that science hasn't cracked. The strange historical facts that leave even the most logical minds asking, how could this be real? We're not just telling stories. We'll explore physical evidence, witness accounts, official investigations, and even modern theories, from the plausible to the paranormal. You'll encounter ancient artifacts that seem engineered with modern precision. Battles that ended before they began. Lost cities that no one has found. And sounds no human has ever identified. These aren't isolated cases. They span continents, timelines, and belief systems, yet they all have one thing in common: no one has fully explained them. What you're about to hear is real. These are documented events. Some are backed by science, others by legend, and some by both. But none have clear-cut answers. And that's what makes them so compelling. So sit back, stay curious, and listen closely. Because the further we dig into history's strangest events, the more we realize how much of our past is still a complete mystery. Is it lost knowledge? Government cover-ups? Science we don't yet understand? Or something else entirely? You decide. Is it myth? Is it coincidence? Or is it proof that the history we think we know barely scratches the surface? And whatever you do, don't skip the ending. Because the last mystery in this list might be one of the strangest ever buried by time. Ancient mysteries. Secrets carved in stone and written in dust the Great Pyramids and their impossible precision. Towering over the Giza Plateau, the Great Pyramid of Khufu continues to baffle engineers, historians, and physicists alike. We're told it was built over 4,500 years ago using primitive tools and manpower, yet the structure is aligned to true north with a precision of just 3/60ths of a degree. Some of the limestone blocks weigh up to 80 tons, transported from quarries hundreds of miles away. Even more puzzling, the base of the pyramid is nearly perfectly level to within just a fraction of an inch. Modern laser-guided equipment would struggle to match that kind of accuracy. Despite decades of study, no consensus exists on how such a massive and mathematically precise structure was constructed without advanced machinery or surveying equipment. Could this be a lost science? A forgotten technology? Or is it proof that ancient civilizations were far more advanced than we assume? The Antikythera mechanism, ancient Greek computer, discovered in a Roman shipwreck near the Greek island of Antikythera in 1901, this rusted, gear-filled artifact shocked the world when it was X-rayed decades later. The Antikythera mechanism turned out to be a mechanical analog computer, built more than 2,000 years ago. It could predict solar and lunar eclipses, planetary movements, and even dates for the Olympic Games. Nothing else like it would exist for another 1,000 years. With over 30 bronze gears and astonishing mechanical complexity, it raises a critical question: how did the ancient Greeks develop such sophisticated astronomical computing? There are no written records of its use or construction. Some scholars now believe it may have been part of a long-lost tradition of scientific technology that simply vanished from the historical record. A glimpse into a forgotten era of engineering mastery, hidden beneath the sea for centuries. Nazca lines, messages to the gods or flight paths. Stretching across the Peruvian desert, the Nazca lines are massive geoglyphs etched into the earth. Spanning over 500 square kilometers, the drawings depict animals, humans, plants, and geometric patterns. Some lines run perfectly straight for over 30 miles. What makes them truly mysterious is that the shapes can only be fully seen from the sky. Created over 2,000 years ago, there's no clear explanation for how or why they were made. Some researchers believe they were ritual pathways or offerings to sky gods. Others suggest astronomical or calendrical significance. And the more speculative theories hint at ancient aerial technology or communication with extraterrestrial beings. Despite extensive research, their purpose remains one of the great unsolved puzzles of ancient South America, a landscape-sized mystery visible only from above. The disappearance of the Indus Valley Civilization, one of the world's earliest urban societies, the Indus Valley Civilization once spanned over 1,000 cities across present-day Pakistan and northwest India. Flourishing from around 3,300 to 1300 BCE, it boasted advanced sewage systems, grid-based city planning, and intricate craftsmanship. Yet unlike its counterparts in Egypt and Mesopotamia, the civilization left behind no readable written language, no monumental tombs, and no apparent signs of conquest. Around 1900 BCE, it seemingly vanished. What caused such a vast and sophisticated culture to collapse? Theories range from climate change and river shifts to pandemics and trade disruptions. but no single explanation accounts for its sudden and total disappearance. With over 90% of its archaeological sites still unexcavated, the Indus Valley remains one of the most enigmatic blank pages in human history. The Baghdad Battery was electricity known in antiquity. In the 1930s, archaeologists unearthed a series of clay jars near Baghdad, each containing a copper cylinder and an iron rod. The artifacts resembled a primitive battery, capable of producing a weak electric charge when filled with an acidic solution. Known today as the Baghdad Battery, the find has stirred decades of debate. Could ancient Mesopotamians have harnessed electricity nearly 2,000 years before modern understanding? Some suggest it may have been used for electroplating metals. Others argue it's merely a coincidence, with no electrical purpose. Yet no definitive records or tools have been found to confirm its use. While skeptics point to the lack of supporting evidence, the presence of these objects still invites an unsettling possibility, that ancient peoples may have stumbled upon electrical principles long before the modern era and left behind only a faint charge of evidence. Stonehenge's true purpose. Stonehenge rises silently from the English plains, its massive stones aligned with solstices and astronomical events. Archaeologists believe it was constructed over several phases, starting around 3000 BCE. But its original function is still unclear. Was it a burial site? A solar calendar? A healing center? The stones, some transported over 150 miles, were arranged with uncanny precision, lining up with the midsummer sunrise and midwinter sunset. Despite extensive excavation and research, no written records explain its true purpose. What's even stranger is that the tools and technology supposedly available to Neolithic people don't account for how the stones were moved and placed. The lack of definitive answers keeps Stonehenge at the center of historical mystery, a megalithic monument that refuses to speak. Puma Punku, impossible stonework in Bolivia. Nestled high in the Bolivian Andes, the ancient site of Puma Punku contains some of the most precisely cut stone blocks in the world. Some weigh over 100 tons and fit together like puzzle pieces, without mortar or gaps. The level of geometric accuracy displayed here, perfect right angles, machine-smooth finishes, defies the capabilities of known pre-Columbian tools. Dating to at least 536 CE, the structures appear far more advanced than what conventional history attributes to the region's indigenous cultures at the time. Some researchers believe the stonework may be remnants of a lost civilization or advanced knowledge now forgotten. Others suggest extraterrestrial influence. With no written language, no records, and no clear purpose, Puma Punku remains a haunting testament to an intelligence we no longer understand. The lost city of Atlantis, Plato's puzzle. First described by the Greek philosopher Plato around 360 BCE, Atlantis was a powerful and advanced civilization that supposedly sank into the sea in a single day and night of misfortune. He wrote of a technologically advanced society that existed 9,000 years before his time, with immense wealth, military power, and architectural brilliance. Many dismiss Atlantis as pure allegory, a moral tale rather than a historical account. But that hasn't stopped explorers and theorists from seeking its remains. Some point to the Minoan civilization, destroyed by volcanic eruption. Others look to locations across the Atlantic, in the Mediterranean, or even Antarctica. Despite centuries of searching and speculation, no universally accepted site has been found. Whether myth or memory, Atlantis remains the ultimate archaeological tease, a city lost not just to the sea, but to time itself. The Sumerian king list, rulers who reigned for thousands of years, etched into stone tablets from ancient Mesopotamia. The Sumerian king list is a record of rulers stretching back thousands of years before the known dynasties. What makes the list so baffling is that many of the kings are said to have ruled for hundreds or even thousands of years. One king is listed with a reign of 43,200 years. While later entries become more realistic, the earliest portions of the list read like mythology mixed with history. Some scholars view it as a symbolic timeline. Others wonder if the numbers could be misunderstood or encoded messages. Could the ancient Sumerians have believed in an earlier race of long-lived beings? Or were these exaggerated reigns a way of linking their leaders to the divine? Either way, the king list blurs the line between fact and fiction in humanity's first recorded history. Ancient Chinese sky mirrors in several regions of China, most notably in high-altitude locations like Mount Taibai. Travelers have reported strange reflective phenomena, massive mirror-like images appearing in the sky or on mountain surfaces. These optical illusions, sometimes described as sky mirrors, depict entire cities, forests, or people in motion, almost like holographic projections. Chinese historical records mention such events dating back centuries. Scientists often attribute them to Fata Morgana, an optical mirage caused by atmospheric conditions. Yet, some of the documented occurrences include details too specific and vivid to dismiss as illusion. In one instance, an entire skyline was reportedly seen hovering above a lake, complete with moving vehicles and sounds. Could these be glitches in perception, or are they brief windows into other dimensions, times, or realities? The sky mirrors remain a reflective mystery, both literally and metaphorically. Mysterious disappearances. The vanishing of the Roanoke colony in the late 1500s. England's first attempt to establish a permanent settlement in North America ended in eerie silence. The Roanoke colony, located on Roanoke Island in present-day North Carolina, was founded in 1587. More than 100 settlers were left behind as Governor John White returned to England for supplies. When he finally made it back 3 years later, he found the colony completely deserted. There were no signs of struggle, no graves, no bodies. Just a single word carved into a tree, Croatoan. Despite centuries of research, no one has discovered what happened to the settlers. Some speculate they assimilated with local tribes, while others believe they fell victim to disease, starvation, or violence. But without concrete evidence, the fate of the Roanoke colonists remains one of the most enduring unsolved mysteries in early American history. Amelia Earhart's final flight in 1937, pioneering aviator Amelia Earhart attempted to fly around the world. She and her navigator Fred Noonan were nearing the final leg of the journey when they vanished over the Pacific Ocean. Their last known transmission came as they approached Howland Island, a tiny strip of land that was nearly impossible to locate without precise instrumentation. Despite one of the largest air and sea search efforts in history, no wreckage was ever found. Over the decades, theories have ranged from running out of fuel and crashing at sea, to landing on a remote island and surviving for days or weeks. Some even speculate she was captured by the Japanese or returned to the US under an alias. The enduring mystery of Amelia Earhart's disappearance continues to spark new investigations, but the sky still holds her secrets. The Mary Celeste ghost ship. In December 1872, a merchant brigantine named the Mary Celeste was found adrift in the Atlantic Ocean. The ship was completely intact, with its cargo untouched and personal belongings still in place, but the entire crew had vanished. The lifeboat was missing, yet there was no sign of foul play, storm damage, or distress. Food and water were plentiful, and the crew had left behind no log explaining the departure. The ship had been en route from New York to Genoa, and its mystery has fueled endless speculation. Some suggest a sudden seaquake or alcohol vapor explosion caused panic. Others lean toward piracy, mutiny, or even paranormal forces. No theory has ever fully accounted for the strange condition of the abandoned vessel. The Mary Celeste remains the most infamous ghost ship in maritime history, a floating question mark lost at sea. The disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa. Jimmy Hoffa, one of America's most powerful labor leaders, disappeared in 1975 from a parking lot outside a Detroit area restaurant. Hoffa had served as president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters and was known for his ties to organized crime. He was last seen waiting for a meeting with two mafia-associated men. His car was found, but Hoffa was never seen again. The FBI has investigated countless tips, including burial under stadiums, incineration, and deep water disposal. Yet no physical evidence or remains have ever surfaced. Theories range from mob hits to government silencing, all pointing to an orchestrated cover-up. In 1982, Hoffa was declared legally dead, but his vanishing act continues to fuel speculation. With no body, no confession, and no closure, Hoffa's disappearance stands as one of America's most famous unsolved cases. The Flannan Isles lighthouse keeper. In December 1900, a ship approaching the remote Flannan Isles off the coast of Scotland noticed that the lighthouse wasn't functioning. Upon arrival, investigators found the building locked from the inside, with meals uneaten and beds unmade. All three lighthouse keepers had vanished without a trace. The only clues were a toppled chair and some missing outerwear, suggesting the men had left quickly but not together. The island showed no signs of struggle or storm damage that could explain their disappearance. A popular theory points to a rogue wave sweeping him away, but the calm weather and peculiar state of the station suggest something stranger. Some believe madness, murder, or even supernatural forces played a role. Despite extensive inquiry, the mystery remains unresolved, turning the Flannan Isles into one of the sea's most haunting legends. Harold Holt, vanished Australian Prime Minister. In 1967, Harold Holt, the sitting Prime Minister of Australia, went for a swim at Cheviot Beach and was never seen again. Despite calm conditions, he vanished almost instantly. No body was ever recovered, and the official report deemed it a drowning. But conspiracy theories quickly multiplied. Some believe he faked his death to escape political pressures. Others claim he was a spy and defected to China or was abducted by a submarine. One of the strangest theories suggests extraterrestrial involvement. The disappearance shocked the nation and led to a unique memorial, the Harold Holt Memorial Swimming Pool. To this day, Holt remains the only head of state to vanish while in office, and his fate continues to be the subject of speculation and whispered conversations. D.B. Cooper, skyjacker who vanished mid-air in 1971, a man using the alias Dan Cooper hijacked a Northwest Orient flight from Portland to Seattle. After receiving $200,000 in ransom and 4 parachutes, he jumped out of the back of the Boeing 727 mid-flight into the dark, stormy skies over Washington state. Despite an exhaustive manhunt, Cooper was never found. No confirmed trace of him has ever been discovered, aside from a bundle of weathered cash found in 1980 near the Columbia River. The FBI closed the case in 2016, admitting defeat. Dozens of suspects have been proposed, some more credible than others, but the true identity and fate of D.B. Cooper remain unknown. It is the only unsolved case of air piracy in American history, and its myth only grows with time. Was he a trained paratrooper, the Sodder children, gone without a trace? On Christmas Eve in 1945, a fire consumed the Sodder family home in Fayetteville, West Virginia. George and Jenny Sodder escaped with 4 of their children, but 5 others were presumed to have died inside. Yet no remains were ever found in the ashes. Strange details quickly emerged. A ladder that was always kept outside had vanished. A phone line was cut. Witnesses claimed to see the children alive after the fire. The family received a bizarre postcard years later featuring a young man who resembled one of the missing boys. Despite multiple investigations, no trace of the children was ever confirmed. The Sodders erected a billboard along a highway, begging for information. Was it a kidnapping, a cover-up, or something more sinister? To this day, the fate of the Sodder children is a chilling mystery of post-war America. The lost 9th Roman Legion in the 2nd century CE, the 9th Roman Legion, a powerful and experienced military force, seemingly disappeared from historical records. Stationed in Britain, the Legion was last documented around 120 CE. After that, they vanished. No official account explains what happened. No battle records, no reassignment, no graves. Some historians believe the Legion was wiped out during a rebellion in northern Britain. Others argue they were simply relocated and renamed. But the lack of definitive evidence fuels the mystery. Later legends speak of a cursed force annihilated by forces unknown. Archaeologists continue to search for answers, but the 9th remains absent from the pages of Roman history, a lost legion swallowed by time and silence. Agatha Christie's 11-day disappearance. In 1926, Agatha Christie, the queen of mystery fiction herself, vanished for 11 days. Her car was found abandoned, and a nationwide search ensued. When she was finally located at a spa hotel in Yorkshire, she claimed to have no memory of the missing days. she had registered under the name of her husband's mistress. Was it an act of revenge, a mental breakdown, or a publicity stunt? Christie never publicly discussed the incident again, and her autobiography makes no mention of it. Psychologists and historians have proposed everything from dissociative fugue to carefully crafted manipulation. The true reason behind her disappearance remains unsolved, fitting, perhaps, for a woman who made a career out of crafting unsolvable puzzles. In the end, even Agatha Christie became one of her own enduring mysteries. Scientific and technological enigma. The Voynich Manuscript, an uncrackable code housed today in Yale University's Beinecker Library. The Voynich Manuscript is one of the world's most baffling texts. Discovered in 1912, this medieval book is written in a script no linguist or cryptographer has ever been able to decode. Filled with bizarre illustrations of unknown plants, astronomical diagrams, and strange biological scenes, the manuscript's purpose and origin remain a mystery. Radiocarbon dating places it in the early 15th century, but the language, dubbed Voynichese, matches no known alphabet, ancient or modern. Top codebreakers from World War II to modern AI systems have all failed to crack it. Some believe it's an elaborate hoax. Others think it's a coded medical or alchemical text. But despite over a century of scrutiny, the Voynich manuscript continues to resist interpretation, leaving behind a silent but tantalizing challenge to the very boundaries of language and logic. Ancient drills in Egypt, tool marks that don't belong. Beneath the sands of Egypt lie stone artifacts that suggest a surprising possibility, machining technology thousands of years before its time. At sites like the Serapeum of Saqqara and the temples at Abydos, perfectly drilled holes and spiral tool marks appear carved into hard granite and diorite, materials almost impossible to work with even using modern tools. Engineers studying these cuts have noted that the pressure and precision required would exceed the capabilities of copper chisels, which are said to have been the Egyptians' primary tools. Some researchers suggest these marks indicate the use of tube drills rotating at high speed, which implies a level of technological sophistication not yet explained by conventional archaeology. Could these be remnants of lost knowledge, or do they point to something even more controversial, a forgotten chapter in human innovation? The London hammer, out-of-place artifact. In the 1930s, a strange object was discovered near London, Texas. Encased in rock, the find appeared to be an iron hammer with a wooden handle. What made it remarkable wasn't the tool itself, but the fact that the surrounding rock was dated to be over 100 million years old. The so-called London hammer immediately became a lightning rod for debate. How could a human-made artifact be embedded in prehistoric stone? Some scientists argue that the rock wasn't as old as it seemed, claiming mineralization can occur quickly under the right conditions. Others believe it's a genuine out-of-place artifact, evidence that challenges our timeline of human development. If the hammer truly predated humanity, who made it? And what else lies buried beneath layers of time we've barely begun to question? The dropper stones, ET evidence or ancient hoax? In the 1930s, an archaeological expedition in the Bayanhar Mountains of China reportedly uncovered hundreds of disc-shaped stones buried in caves. Each stone was etched with tiny, spiraling symbols resembling a form of hieroglyphics. These became known as the dropper stones. According to controversial translations, the inscriptions tell of a spacecraft crash thousands of years ago, followed by peaceful interaction between extraterrestrial beings and the local tribes. Mainstream science has dismissed the stones as a hoax or misidentified artifacts. However, no definitive studies have either authenticated or disproven them entirely. With most of the stones now missing and the Chinese government refusing access to the site, the dropper stones occupy a strange space in history, between fringe theory and possibly suppressed discovery. Are they simply an elaborate story, or could they represent forgotten contact with beings from beyond our world? The bygone pipes, fossilized infrastructure. Deep within a remote mountain near Delinga, China, lie peculiar formations embedded in ancient rock. These are known as the bygone pipes, network-like tubes made of iron and silica that appear to penetrate the mountain and lead into a now dry lake bed. What confounds researchers is their age and structure. Some of the pipes are buried in sediment that dates back over 150,000 years. Chinese scientists have proposed natural explanations like petrified tree roots or iron-rich magma flows. But others have pointed out the pipe's uniformity, branching patterns, and internal hollowness as hallmarks of manufactured infrastructure. Could they be remnants of an ancient technological society or even extraterrestrial construction? With limited access to the site and conflicting reports, the bygone pipes remain a largely unstudied and unexplained phenomenon in the world of ancient anomalies. The Koso artifact, spark plug in 500,000-year-old rock. In 1961, a group of rock collectors near Olancha, California, discovered a geode-like formation with something odd inside. Cracking it open revealed what looked like a modern spark plug, complete with a metallic core and porcelain casing. Dubbed the Koso artifact, this find immediately sparked controversy. If genuine, it would suggest the presence of advanced technology hundreds of thousands of years before humans were supposed to exist. Skeptics have argued that the rock wasn't as old as initially claimed or that the artifact simply became encased through rare natural processes. Yet no definitive explanation has been accepted. The object has vanished from public view, allegedly lost or confiscated. Without further testing, the Koso artifact lingers in archaeological lore as a technological ghost, frozen in stone and time, whispering questions we're still not prepared to answer. Roman dodecahedrons, purpose still unknown. Scattered across the former territories of the Roman Empire, peculiar 12-sided bronze objects have been found, dating from the 2nd to 4th century CE. Known as Roman dodecahedrons, these objects have no inscriptions, no documentation, and no known mention in Roman literature. Each one features round holes of varying sizes on each face and knobs at each corner. Dozens have been found, yet their function remains a mystery. Some scholars propose they were candlestick holders or measuring devices. Others believe they were used in astronomical calculations or as ceremonial items. The absence of wear and the deliberate craftsmanship suggest they had a specific, possibly important use. But despite their widespread discovery, no one can say for certain what these curious geometric objects were meant to do. The Roman dodecahedron stands as a silent enigma, a puzzle left behind by one of history's most documented civilizations. The ancient Egyptian light bulb theory, carved into the temple walls of Dendera, Egypt, is a set of images that some believe could depict ancient electrical technology. One carving shows what looks eerily similar to a modern light bulb, an elongated glass-like shape with a filament-like structure inside, connected to what resembles a power source. Proponents of the ancient technology theory argue that these images suggest the Egyptians may have had access to electrical illumination, potentially explaining the lack of soot in certain tombs. Skeptics counter that the carvings represent mythological symbols, such as a lotus flower giving birth to a serpent. No physical evidence of electrical devices has been found at the site. Still, the images remain open to interpretation, feeding theories of lost knowledge, misinterpreted science, or secret technologies we've only begun to rediscover. Whether artistic metaphor or encoded engineering, the Dendera carvings continue to electrify the imagination. Religious and supernatural phenomena, the miracle of Fatima, mass hallucination or UFO. In 1917, 3 shepherd children in Fatima, Portugal, claimed to see a vision of the Virgin Mary, who delivered prophecies and promised a miracle that would convince the world. On October 13th of that year, tens of thousands of witnesses gathered in anticipation. What they reportedly saw would be etched into history as the miracle of the sun. The crowd described a spinning disk of light, changing colors, zigzagging in the sky, and defying gravity before descending toward Earth and suddenly retreating. Some called it divine, others questioned whether it was an optical illusion or a mass hallucination. But in modern times, the event has also been interpreted through the lens of unidentified aerial phenomena. Was it a supernatural display or an early 20th century encounter with something extraterrestrial? No matter the theory, the Fatima miracle continues to be a strange blend of faith, prophecy, and unexplained aerial spectacle. The Turin Shroud, Jesus' burial cloth or medieval forgery. Housed in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy, the Shroud of Turin is a length of linen bearing the faint image of a man who appears to have been crucified. Many believe it to be the burial cloth of Jesus Christ, a sacred relic that has survived centuries. Radiocarbon dating conducted in 1988 dated the fabric to the Middle Ages, suggesting it was a forgery. But further tests have questioned those results, pointing to contamination, potential anomalies in the dating method, and pollen grains found on the cloth that trace back to Jerusalem. The image itself is not painted or dyed but appears to be scorched into the fabric in a way scientists still cannot replicate. The debate continues: is it a medieval hoax, a miraculous imprint, or something else entirely? The Turin Shroud remains one of the most enduring religious artifacts never fully explained by science. The Dancing Plague of 1518. In the summer of 1518, a strange phenomenon overtook the streets of Strasbourg, France. A woman named Frau Trophia began dancing uncontrollably in the middle of the city. Within a week, dozens had joined her. Eyewitnesses reported that victims danced for days without rest, collapsing from exhaustion, and in some cases, dying from heart attacks or strokes. The bizarre episode continued for over a month, baffling local physicians and religious leaders. It became known as the Dancing Plague. No one knows exactly what caused it. Theories include mass hysteria, ergot poisoning from moldy bread, or a form of psychogenic illness triggered by stress and fear. But the scale and intensity of the event remain unmatched. How could so many people fall under the same compulsive trance, seemingly against their will? The Dancing Plague of 1518 stands as one of the most surreal and unexplained mass events in European history. The weeping statues across the world, reports occasionally surface of religious statues that appear to weep, sometimes tears, sometimes blood or oil. These phenomena are typically linked to statues of the Virgin Mary and Christ, and while many are later debunked as hoaxes or explained by condensation and capillary action, some cases resist easy answers. In the 1970s, a statue in Syracuse, Italy, was documented weeping what scientists confirmed to be human tears. In Akita, Japan, a wooden statue reportedly cried, bled, and even spoke prophetic warnings, with the Catholic Church acknowledging the events as supernatural. Skeptics argue that such claims often arise from deeply emotional or manipulated environments. Yet in some cases, the weeping is witnessed by dozens, even hundreds, of individuals, including clergy and scientists. Are these manifestations of divine intervention, psychological projection, or something else we have no means to measure? The Oracle of Delphi's prophetic trances in the heart of ancient Greece. High atop Mount Parnassus, the Oracle of Delphi delivered prophecies that shaped the decisions of kings, generals, and empires. The Pythia, a priestess serving the god Apollo, would enter a trance and utter cryptic messages said to be divinely inspired. For centuries, the source of her altered state remained a mystery. Modern research uncovered that the temple was built over a geological fault emitting ethylene gas, a compound that can induce euphoria and hallucinations. Could these ancient prophecies have been chemically induced visions? Or was the oracle truly in touch with a realm beyond human perception? Despite the scientific insights, the uncanny accuracy of some prophecies, such as predicting the fall of empires or the outcomes of wars, leaves room for doubt. The Oracle of Delphi stands at the crossroads of mysticism and medicine, a living symbol of how spirituality and science once intertwined. The Sudarium of Oviedo, blood match to the Turin Shroud. Less famous but just as controversial as the Turin Shroud, the Sudarium of Oviedo is a blood-stained cloth said to have covered the face of Jesus during the crucifixion. Unlike the shroud, the Sudarium bears no image, but it has been kept in the Cathedral of Oviedo in Spain since at least the 6th century. What makes it truly compelling is that forensic analysis has shown the blood type and flow patterns on the Sudarium match those found on the Shroud of Turin. If both cloths are authentic, it would suggest they were used on the same person and date back to the same moment in time. Yet critics argue that the scientific evidence is inconclusive, and both relics could be the work of skilled forgers. Still, the Sudarium offers an eerie parallel to the Shroud, and together they pose a daunting question: how could two cloths from different countries and eras tell the same story in blood? Military and political oddities. The Ghost Army of World War II. During the final years of World War II, the United States deployed a top-secret unit unlike any other on the battlefield. Officially known as the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, this group consisted of artists, sound engineers, and set designers, all tasked with creating illusions to deceive the enemy. They used inflatable tanks, recorded battle noises, and even fake radio chatter to simulate the presence of entire divisions. Dubbed the Ghost Army, their deception operations are credited with saving thousands of lives and shortening the war. But what makes the story even more mysterious is how little recognition they received until decades later. Their missions were classified, their success hidden from the public, and their techniques eerily effective. The psychological and visual warfare they used borders on the surreal, proof that in some cases, illusion was just as powerful as firepower. Even today, military strategists study their tactics, wondering how far deception can go in modern conflict. The Battle of Los Angeles, UFO or war hysteria. On the night of February 24, 1942, air raid sirens wailed across Los Angeles. Spotlights pierced the sky. Anti-aircraft fire rained upward for over an hour. Residents believed the city was under attack, possibly by Japanese forces. But no enemy aircraft were ever identified, and no wreckage was found. What the military initially called a false alarm was later described by some as a possible encounter with an unidentified flying object. Photographs from that night show beams of light focused on a glowing shape in the sky. Witnesses claimed to see an object hovering motionlessly under fire. The government maintained it was all a case of nerves, intensified by the recent bombing of Pearl Harbor. Yet others argued that it was a cover-up, an early example of UFO activity during wartime. The Battle of Los Angeles remains one of the most controversial and unexplained. The Tunguska event, natural or man-made blast. In 1908, a massive explosion leveled over 800 square miles of Siberian forest near the Tunguska River. Witnesses reported a fireball streaking across the sky, followed by a shockwave so powerful it knocked people off their feet hundreds of miles away. No crater was ever found, and the cause of the blast has never been definitively proven. The most accepted theory is that a meteor exploded mid-air before hitting the ground. But there are problems with that explanation. No fragments have ever been recovered, and the symmetrical devastation resembles a controlled detonation. Some researchers have suggested it may have been a test of advanced weaponry, though no known technology of the time could account for it. Others propose exotic theories involving antimatter, natural gas explosions, or even alien intervention. Whatever the cause, the Tunguska event stands as one of the largest unexplained explosions in recorded history, with effects still studied today by geophysicists and conspiracy theorists alike. Napoleon's time capsule letter to the future. In 1820, Napoleon Bonaparte, exiled and weakened, dictated a strange document to his private secretary. The letter, sealed and stored in a French archive, was addressed to future generations and not to be opened until the year 2000. When it was finally unsealed, its contents left historians puzzled. Rather than personal reflections or confessions, the letter was filled with cryptic references to New Europe, future revolutions, and veiled warnings about powers rising in the East. Some have interpreted it as a political prophecy. Others believe it was part of Napoleon's obsession with shaping history even after death. The tone of the letter is eerily detached, almost predictive in nature, as if he saw himself speaking directly to the modern world. Was it an act of psychological theater, a strategic bluff, or the ramblings of a man trying to rewrite fate? The letter adds yet another mysterious chapter to a life already steeped in myth and military legend. Hitler's obsession with the spear of destiny. Among the many strange obsessions of Adolf Hitler was his belief in the occult, and none more prominent than the so-called spear of destiny. According to legend, this was the lance used by a Roman soldier to pierce the side of Christ during the crucifixion. It was said that whoever possessed the spear would hold the fate of the world in their hands. Hitler allegedly encountered the relic in Vienna as a young man and later arranged for its seizure during the annexation of Austria. He reportedly had it moved to Nuremberg for safekeeping during the war. In a strange twist, the Allied forces recovered the spear just hours after Hitler's reported suicide. Some believe the timing was more than coincidence. Was the spear of destiny a mere artifact, or did Hitler truly believe it gave him supernatural power? Even today, the object resides in a museum, a silent relic of ambition entwined with mythology. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. In 1959, 9 experienced Russian hikers set out into the Ural Mountains on a skiing expedition. They never returned. When their bodies were eventually discovered weeks later, investigators were stunned. Their tent had been slashed open from the inside. Some of the bodies were found half dressed in the snow, others with massive internal injuries, yet no external wounds. One hiker had her tongue missing. Radiation traces were found on the clothing of 2 victims. The Soviet government closed the case with a vague explanation, a compelling natural force. Over the years, theories have ranged from avalanche to infrasound-induced panic, military testing gone wrong, and even alien encounters. In 2020, Russian authorities reaffirmed the avalanche theory, but many experts remain unconvinced. The location, now known as Dyatlov Pass, continues to attract researchers, filmmakers, and theorists. It remains one of the most chilling and unexplained wilderness deaths in modern history, where evidence contradicts every theory and silence speaks louder than any answer. Cultural and social mystery. The Green Children of Woolpit. In 12th century England, villagers in Woolpit were astonished when 2 children, green-skinned and speaking an unknown language, emerged from a wolf trap. The boy and girl wore strange clothing and appeared confused by their surroundings. Over time, they learned to speak English and explained they came from a place called St. Martin's Land, a subterranean world without sunlight. The boy died soon after, but the girl grew up and eventually integrated into society. She claimed her people lived underground in perpetual twilight. Historians have speculated that the children were malnourished or suffering from arsenic poisoning, which can cause a greenish tint to the skin. Others believe the tale is allegorical or folkloric. But there is no record of any similar phenomenon elsewhere in medieval Europe. Whether a case of myth, metaphor, or an interdimensional encounter, the story of the Green Children remains an eerie anomaly in the collective memory of rural England. The Taos hum, a sound only some can hear. In the quiet town of Taos, New Mexico, residents began reporting a persistent low-frequency humming in the early 1990s. Described as a distant engine idling or a faint rumble, the sound became known as the Taos hum. What makes it especially strange is that only a small portion of people can hear it, while others hear nothing at all. Scientists from Los Alamos National Laboratory and other institutions investigated, but no definitive source was found. There were no mechanical or environmental anomalies to explain the sound, and audio equipment often failed to detect it. Some have blamed electromagnetic fields, underground geological activity, or mass psychological phenomena. Others suggest more exotic causes, government experiments, communication interference, or even Earth itself making noise. Despite decades of inquiry, the hum persists for those sensitive enough to hear it. And for everyone else, it remains a mystery they can't perceive, but many still feel. The Mad Gasser of Mattoon. During the fall of 1944, the town of Mattoon, Illinois, was gripped by fear. Dozens of residents reported being attacked in their homes by an unseen assailant who released a strange gas that left them nauseated, paralyzed, or unconscious. Victims described a sickly sweet smell, followed by dizziness or the inability to move. Police found little physical evidence, and no suspect was ever apprehended. Newspapers dubbed the figure the Mad Gasser of Mattoon. Some believed it was a real chemical attacker, while others saw it as a case of mass hysteria fueled by wartime anxiety. Psychological studies have since used the incident as an example of social contagion, where fear itself becomes infectious. Yet the consistency of the reports, and the physical symptoms experienced by unrelated individuals, keep the debate alive. Was there a real attacker behind the mask of collective fear, or was the gasser a phantom born from imagination? The Wow. Signal, are we alone? On August 15, 1977, astronomer Jerry Eman was scanning deep space signals with Ohio State University's Big Ear radio telescope when he recorded a powerful, narrowband radio burst that lasted for 72 seconds. It was so unusual and statistically significant that he circled the printout and wrote, "Wow," in the margin. The signal appeared to originate from the constellation Sagittarius and matched the expected signature of a non-terrestrial and non-solar system source. Follow-up scans never detected the signal again. No known natural source has been identified to match its profile, and it has never been repeated. While some have speculated that it was a passing comet or terrestrial interference, no explanation has stood the test of scientific scrutiny. The Wow. Signal remains one of the most tantalizing pieces of evidence in the search for intelligent extraterrestrial life, a single cosmic whisper that still echoes in the ears of science. The Man from Toward, Interdimensional Traveler. In 1954, a traveler arrived at Tokyo's Haneda Airport with a passport from a country no one had ever heard of, Toward. The man insisted his country was real and located between France and Spain. He even pointed to it on a map, only to become confused when told that no such nation existed. Authorities detained him in a hotel overnight while they investigated. The next morning, the man had vanished. His room was locked from the outside, and all of his documents, including the mysterious passport, were gone. No trace of the man from Toward was ever found again. Some believe it was a case of bureaucratic confusion, while others propose an interdimensional slip, suggesting he came from a parallel reality that intersected briefly with our own. True or not, the story of the man from Toward remains a staple of unexplained travel lore, a bizarre tale where borders become blurred and identities unravel. Time and reality paradoxes. The chronovisor, Vatican's time-viewing machine. Hidden deep within Vatican archives, rumors persist of a secret device called the chronovisor, a machine that allegedly allows users to view scenes from the past. First described in the 1960s by Father Pellegrino Ernetti, a Benedictine monk and physicist, the chronovisor was said to resemble a television connected to mysterious electromagnetic elements that could tune into the residual frequencies of historical events. Ernetti claimed to have seen the crucifixion of Christ and ancient Roman performances through the device. While no physical evidence of the chronovisor has surfaced, Ernetti's credentials and associations with prominent scientists have fueled speculation. Some believe the Vatican dismantled or concealed it, fearing its power. Others call it a hoax born from Cold War paranoia and religious myth-making. Yet the notion that a machine could tap into echoes of time remains one of the most fascinating and persistent claims in modern conspiracy history. The Montic Project, Mind Control and Time Travel. According to declassified rumors and whistleblower testimonies, the Montic Project was a series of secret experiments conducted at Camp Hero, a decommissioned military base in Montic, New York. It's said the US government explored psychic warfare, teleportation, and even time travel under extreme secrecy during the late 20th century. One of the most shocking claims came from Preston Nichols, who alleged that children were subjected to psychological manipulation to open portals through space-time. He described machines that could project thoughts into reality and experiments that caused entire buildings to disappear. While mainstream science dismisses these stories, satellite photos of Camp Hero show underground facilities that remain unexplored. The Montic Project later inspired the hit series Stranger Things, giving the legend a fresh wave of attention. Whether it was a myth, a cover for mind control tests, or something much deeper, Montic has become a modern parable for the dangers of unregulated experimentation. Time slip of Versailles. Two women in 1901 see Marie Antoinette. In the summer of 1901, two English women, Charlotte Anne Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain, visited the Palace of Versailles and claimed to experience something extraordinary. While walking through the gardens, they suddenly noticed a change in the atmosphere. The colors around them dimmed, and they saw figures dressed in 18th century clothing. Most famously, they claimed to see a woman sketching on the grass whom they later believed to be Marie Antoinette herself. Their account was detailed in a book titled An Adventure, which sparked intense debate. Some dismissed it as imagination or suggestion, but others pointed to the consistency of their story and the lack of contradiction over time. They described architectural details and historical dress that were only later verified by historians. Was it a time slip, a psychic projection, or a shared hallucination? To this day, their experience challenges the boundaries of temporal reality and raises questions about how thin the veil of time might truly be. The Moberly-Jourdain incident, though often conflated with the Versailles episode, the Moberly-Jourdain incident is its own enigma in the history of temporal anomalies. Their detailed description of slipping into what felt like the 1700s was not a fleeting vision but a fully immersive experience that included sights, sounds, and even interactions with period-dressed individuals. They recalled architectural features and garden arrangements that matched the pre-revolution era, even though those details were lost to renovation and time. Years later, researchers validated parts of their recollections with rare historical drawings. Some suggest the women entered a time loop, others believe they tapped into a memory embedded in the landscape. The story remains compelling not just for its content but for the credibility of the women themselves, both respected academics at the time. It challenges conventional physics, psychology, and history, standing as one of the most intricately documented claims of a real lifetime displacement. The mystery of the Black Knight satellite, high above Earth, in polar orbit, some believe an ancient satellite of unknown origin has been silently circling the planet for thousands of years. Referred to as the Black Knight satellite, this object first came to public attention in the 1950s, when both the US and Soviet Union detected unexplained signals and tracked a satellite that neither claimed to have launched. Theories exploded. Some linked it to Nikola Tesla, who in 1899 claimed to receive extraterrestrial radio signals. Others pointed to photographs from NASA's early space missions showing a dark, irregular object orbiting Earth. NASA explained it as space debris, specifically a thermal blanket, but the image and mystery persisted. Conspiracy theorists claim the satellite predates modern civilization and could be evidence of an ancient alien outpost or a time monitoring device. Whether myth or misidentified object, the Black Knight remains a symbol of the possibility that we are not alone, and that someone, or something, might be watching us across centuries. When history refuses to explain itself, from ancient artifacts carved with impossible precision to modern-day vanishings that defy logic, we've journeyed through 50 strange events in history that still can't be explained. These were not myths or bedtime stories passed through generations. They were real accounts, documented, witnessed, sometimes even investigated by scientists, scholars, and governments, yet each one still ends with a question mark instead of a period. Across time, geography, and belief systems, the one thing that connects these mysteries is their resistance to answers. How do we explain a ship found intact but without its crew? Why do ancient ruins show signs of technology we haven't even perfected today? What causes a town to hear a hum no one else can measure, or why would a monarch disappear mid-swim, never to be seen again? We live in an era that prides itself on logic, reason, and evidence. Yet these stories remind us that history is not always as settled as the textbooks would have us believe. The more we dig, the more we realize that human history may be far more layered, fragmented, and mysterious than we ever imagined. Maybe it's not that we haven't found the answers. Maybe we're not yet capable of asking the right questions. So now we turn the mystery over to you. Which of these strange events do you think has a real explanation waiting to be uncovered? Are they all products of lost knowledge, clever illusions, or simple misinterpretations? Or could there be something deeper, something our current science, culture, or even consciousness hasn't yet evolved to understand? Tell us your theory in the comments. We want to know what you think. Were these stories distorted through time? Were some of them covered up? Or were they never meant to be understood by us in the first place? And if you enjoyed exploring these real historical oddities, don't forget to subscribe. We've only just begun to scratch the surface of the world's strangest unsolved events. More mysteries lie hidden in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered, re-examined, or simply witnessed one more time with fresh eyes. Because in the end, not every question needs an answer to be worth asking. And not every truth wants to be found.